Hello and welcome to my channel. Today is Friday, which means it's time for a death row story. Alright, so we're going to get into it. This is kind of an odd one, but this is literally called the cell phone murders. So the cell phone murders was a mass shooting that occurred on September 25th, 1996 in Huntsville, Alabama. On that date itself, due to a conflict over a stolen cell phone, a group of 3 men opened fire inside a house, which is not how we handle problems, killing 4 of the occupants while injuring 2 others. The perpetrators, Joey Wilson, Nicholas Ackland, and Corey Johnson, were all arrested and charged with multiple counts of capital murder. Wilson and Ackland were both found guilty of capital murder and sentenced to death in 1998. Johnson pleaded guilty to felony murder and served 15 years before his release in 2011, before he was subsequently jailed for life in a 2016 murder case. It's okay. Sorry, I dropped my little mic thing. Wilson and Ackland were both found guilty of capital murder. Oh, I read that, sorry. On September 25th, 1996, before midnight, a group of 3 men committed a mass shooting at a residential home in Huntsville, Alabama, leading to the deaths of 4 people and another 2 wounded. A week prior to the killings, on September 18th, 1996, the trio, 23-year-old Nicholas Bernard Ackland, 19-year-old Joseph Michael Wilson, better known as Joey Wilson, and 23-year-old Corey Johnson, visited the house where the shooting broke out and expressed their interest in buying marijuana from Ashley Rutherford, who lived in the house with his fiancée, Michelle Hayden, and his aunt. After the trio saw the drugs, they left briefly before one of the 3 men, Johnson, returned and asked to see the weed one more time. Once the drugs were shown to him, Johnson grabbed a small amount and left Rutherford's house. However, Charles Lamar Hemphill, better known as Lamar, a friend of Rutherford, discovered that his cell phone, which was last seen in Rutherford's house, was missing, and after calling his phone, the recipient of the call was Joey Wilson, one of the 3 men that came to buy weed from Rutherford. Suspecting that Wilson stole his phone during that particular visit, Hemphill filed a complaint to the police. Wilson learned of the complaint a few days after it was lodged, and he was also questioned by the police regarding this matter. And I'm sure in this police conversation, nowhere was it mentioned that they were there to buy weed. I don't know, it might be legal in Alabama. I honestly don't know. Angered by this revelation, Wilson, Ackland, and Johnson decided to seek revenge against Hemphill and the other people responsible for the police complaint. The trio armed themselves with guns and went back to the house on September 25th, 1996, a week after the alleged phone theft. They waited a week to go back and get their revenge on this guy. And that's what gets me, like, after a week, man, just buy a new cell phone. Like, I mean, I get they're kind of expensive if you have, like, a plan or you go through, like, a company, but, like, you can get a track phone at Walmart still in 2026. So, yeah. At the time when the men arrived, Hayden, Hemphill, and Rutherford's 2 friends, Michael Bodette and Brian Carter, were present at the house with another 2 people, Mike Skierchak and Johnny Church, who both knew Bodette. The trio confronted the 6 and held them hostage, and unknowingly, Rutherford later returned home from work while the holdup continued, and he became the 7th hostage confined in the house. The 7 victims were being assaulted by the trio, and Ackland additionally sexually assaulted Hayden by molesting her and forcing her to remove her clothes. The men were similarly forced to strip until their undergarments were left. The victims denied knowing about the police warrant filed against Wilson, even though Rutherford and Hemphill admitted the complaint. Ultimately, Wilson and Ackland used their guns and fired multiple shots at the victims. One of the 7 hostages, Mike Skierchak, managed to flee the house during the shooting and was uninjured. Good for him. However, the remaining 6 were shot, and 4 of them, Hemphill, Bodette, Carter, and Couch, died as a result of fatal gunshot wounds, while both Rutherford and Hayden survived. Rutherford pretended to be dead until the trio departed the house, which honestly probably saved his life. On September 26, 1996, and this was all over filing a police complaint because he took his phone. On September 26, 1996, shortly after the murders, the trio was arrested outside the house by the police. The trio, Nicholas Ackland, Corey Johnson, and Joey Wilson, were all charged with capital murder, an offense that carries the death penalty under Alabama state law. On August 25, 1998, a Madison County jury found Wilson guilty of all 4 counts of capital murder. On August 26, 1998, the jury unanimously recommended the death penalty for Wilson on all 4 counts of capital murder, and Wilson was formally sentenced to death on September 17, 1998. On October 23, 1998, Ackland was I don't know why I use this word in segments when I struggle so much with pronouncing it. Was similarly found guilty of all 4 capital murder counts. I really need to find a synonym for that or something. Before a separate jury which recommended the death penalty for Ackland on October 31st, 1998. On November 6, 1998, Ackland was formally sentenced to death by the trial judge. On November 1st, Johnson, the last man to stand trial, accepted a plea agreement and was sentenced to 15 years in prison for lesser charges of felony murder, thus sparing him the possibility of a death sentence for the cell phone murders. On November 19th of 1999, Joey Wilson's direct appeal was rejected by the Atlanta Court of Criminal Appeals. On June 23, 2000, Wilson's appeal was turned down by the Alabama Supreme Court. On April 29, 2005, the Alabama Court of Criminal Appeals sent Wilson's case back to the lower courts to rehear his post-conviction petition against the death sentence. In September 2013, Wilson petitioned for a new trial. On June 28, 2024, not that long ago, Wilson's appeal for post-conviction relief was denied by the Alabama Court of Criminal Appeals. On August 22, 2025, again, not that long ago, literally last year, the Alabama Court of Criminal Appeals dismissed Wilson's appeal. On April 28, 2000, Nicholas Ackland's direct appeal was rejected by the Alabama Court of Criminal Appeals. On June 20th, 2013, Ackland petitioned for a new trial in his case. The hearings were first held in December 2013, during which Ackland argued that he had ineffective trial representation, citing that the evidence of his troubled childhood, mainly the childhood abuse he and his 3 brothers suffered from his father, were not shown during the trial, and the defense submitted that the penalty phase would not have ended with a death sentence without the omission of such important evidence. However, Ackland's trial lawyer stated that Ackland instructed him to not present the evidence of his childhood abuse to the jury back in 1998 during his trial. On the behalf of the defense, a social work expert testified that children exposed to violence early had a higher probability of becoming violent adults, and a Stanford University professor testified that during the trial, Ackland was prescribed with an anti-anxiety drug that was designed to remove emotion, which could have explained his demeanor during the trial and led to the jury's possible misinterpretation that Ackland was indifferent to the brutality of the crime. Several of Ackland's family members, including his mother and one of Ackland's 3 brothers, testified about the abuse Ackland underwent during his childhood. And I get that. Okay, I understand. Sometimes this happens with abused kids and there's no excuse. You don't fuck with the children. I'm hard about that. But it doesn't excuse murder, and it shouldn't be used to excuse a murder. This man and his friends and family did nothing to him. There was absolutely no reason for it to go this far. And 4 people are dead because of it. So there's, I don't think it should be in any way a get out of jail free card, because it's not like he went and killed his abusive dad. He killed 4 innocent people, because he didn't even kill the one who filed the complaint. But yeah. On April 16, 2015, the Madison County Circuit Court dismissed Ackland's petition for a new trial, with Judge Chris Corner ruling that Ackland failed to prove that the mitigatory evidence he presented would have undermined the overwhelming evidence of his guilt in murdering the 4 victims in the cell phone mass murders. And I really think that's true, because, like I said, it's not like he went out and killed his dad or his mom, or, his mom and his dad, or his grandmother, or whatever the case may be. He went out and killed 4 innocent people that did nothing to him, did nothing wrong, and by all accounts had every right to file that police report if their phone was stolen. And then the only person that walked away that survived, I mean, there was 2, but was the one that filed the complaint, was the one you were originally after. You didn't even kill him. You killed 4 innocent people, 2 of which probably had no idea what the fuck was going on. That's fucked up. On March 25th, 2019, Ackland's appeal was denied by the U.S. Supreme Court. On December 12th, 2024, the 11th Circuit Court of Appeals rejected Ackland's appeal. On October 6th of 2025, Ackland's final appeal was denied by the U.S. Supreme Court. When Corey Johnson, one of the cell phone murderers, was arrested in 2016 for the murder of his girlfriend. Just to clarify that the one that killed his girlfriend is the one that only served 15 years for felony murder, and then they let him out and he murdered his girlfriend. Because, yeah, that's what they do! His connection to the 1996 cell phone murders brought renewed attention to the case. So sorry. I'm allergic to my cats, but I love them. Paige Edwards, a friend of the victims and perpetrators, commented on the case, remarking that the killings left a deep impact on the lives of everyone related to it. In May 2017, about 21 years after the incident, the house where the cell phone murders occurred was demolished. Sources reveal that ever since the killings happened, the house remained vacant up until its demolition. In September 2021, 25 years after the cell phone murders, the families of the deceased victims continued to remember them and stated that they will wait for justice to be served. Madison County District Attorney Rob Broussard expressed his feelings over the brutal nature of the killings, and Madison County Sheriff Kevin Turner additionally cited the cell phone murders as the worst homicide case he investigated as a police officer. The case still remained as one of the most horrific crimes to happen in Madison County, Alabama. In 2022, Madison County District Attorney Rob Broussard, who prosecuted both Joey Wilson and Nicholas Ackland and sought death sentences for the pair, did not directly comment on the case, but he stated that he felt it was not easy to decide on whether to pursue capital punishment for suspects charged in capital cases, and he expressed that the death penalty should remain for heinous crimes when circumstances call for it. And that's the story of the cell phone murders, and I'm still stuck on the fact that the person that they went there to kill, that filed the police report, they didn't even kill him. Like, not that they should have, but, you know, I'm just saying, like, 4 innocent people, and 2 of them, like I said, probably didn't even know what the fuck was going on, were killed. And for what? A fucking phone? It's not that serious, so please, this is not how you handle problems. Anyway, with that being said, leave your comments below, suggestions. You can email me too. My email address is attached in the comment box under links. Other than that, don't do anything I wouldn't do. Make good choices. Be cautiously kind to people. And I'll see you all later. Bye.